What is up, y'all? I'm Benjamin Outdoors, and this is my channel. So today I'm here with the 2009 CBR600rr. So there's a few things wrong with it right off the bat. Missing the tank and the fuel pump. Front rim is damaged and it's unusable. Missing rotors from the front and rear. And everything else is just a bunch of miscellaneous stuff. Like front master cylinder, brake lines, the bars are bent, which I might do handlebars. But that'll come later. I'll tell you all about my plans for it at a later date once I can get it running. Next thing is levers. There's a crack in the stator cover actually, which kind of worries me because that crack could go into the case. I'm not sure, I haven't looked into that in depth, but for the most part, everything looks pretty good. The guy actually told me the forks were damaged, the forks were bent. His brother actually told me the frame was bent, but neither looked bent, so that kind of worries me that there might be something wrong with the motor. He said it was fine, but you gotta take everything at face value. So anyway, I'm gonna try to get it running. First off, obviously, needs a new battery, needs a starter relay, but everything else is basically there. It looks pretty good, looks like a pretty good platform to build off of, and I am super stoked to bring this build to y'all. So y'all stick around and enjoy the video. So I got the CBR inside, and I was looking inside the valves. It does not look good down in there. So I'm actually going to turn the motor over to where those are sealed up, and then I'm gonna blast them out. So I showed y'all a little bit inside of the intake. So down here, you were actually able to see one of the valves. They looked a little damaged. Looks like it's got some damage on top of the valve. But I used the sandblaster to blast the valve because it looked like something was on the valve, but it ended up being the damage on the valve. The motor turns over and I think it still seats fine, so it might still run fine. All we can hope is just, put everything on, bolt everything up, and just crank it, see if it runs. So I'm gonna put everything on and then see if she runs. Strip a few things off. I'm gonna pull it off with pliers. Not sure what these red wires go. Underglow, that's what these things go to. Crappy underglow. Alright, so this is actually locked on there. And so I'm actually gonna try to There we go. Alright, so I got both bar controls right here. Set those for right now, but I got the relay. I'll plug the relay in. Let's see figure out which wire's which. I guess this one goes on the battery, this one goes on the relay. And then I'm gonna need also a wire from the relay to the battery. I actually had a positive wire from the relay on the YZF battery. So I went to Lowe's and I found screws that were as similar to the CBR screws as possible. Basically identical, except a little bit flatter head, and there's actually a point. Oh yeah, so these are going in pretty smoothly, exactly like they should. And these are also stainless steel, so I don't have to worry about rusting. So yeah, I'm just gonna screw all these in, and then I'll plug everything up. I'm gonna tighten up the injectors. Now everything is pretty much tight. Plug in all the ejectors. Should hear it click on every single one. Intake sensor, I think. This is gonna go down here. This is gonna go right here. This slides down like so and locks in there. That goes to above the first injector. That locks in as well. Uh-oh. Gotta figure what that goes to. That was severed. This goes to the top of the throttle body over here, behind the stator wire and everything. Click. This is an injector down here. Click. That plug was kind of twisted, so I moved it. Click. And honestly, I forgot where these go. Okay, there's one right here. And this one. Actually, I want to say there was a sensor right there. I believe there was a sensor there. And it is missing. Let me go check on my other CBR, make sure it is in fact missing. So I'm actually missing a map sensor. It goes right here. Bolts onto the bottom of the airbox. And that's what this hose goes to. And this plugs into. So I have to order that. That's kind of expensive. It's like $20 for a used one. And I bought the whole bike for 200 bucks. So it's kind of sucks that I have to buy that. But I don't think I have any extra parts with the CBR in terms of the map sensor. But I have to get the map sensor, and I'm going to actually look what this is right now. I don't know what that goes to. It's pretty long. I don't know if it goes, it might be, it's a red positive wire. I'm not sure what that goes to right now and where it comes out at. But everything else, except this gray plug, I think that goes to something down on the side. Yeah, this gray wire actually comes down to this bad boy, some kind of sensor. I really don't know every specific sensor, but everything else I think is connected. I actually have to plug the stabilizer in, so I'm going to unbolt this and pull this up, plug it, and then bolt it right back. And so now I'm going to move to the handlebar controls. Not going to put this one on yet because it's bent, but I'll put this one on. Let's run this puppy up here, plug her in. Alright, so I figured out what this plug goes to, and that's a very important piece. It goes to the rectifier. So this goes from the stator to this plug to the rectifier, from the rectifier to a plug, and then that electricity, there's a ground that goes right here with this ground, and then the positive goes into the electrical system to be able to fire the spark plugs and charge the battery and all that good stuff. So this is a few stuff that I have here. This is the rectifier that came off the bike. This stator wire was severed, so I got to figure out which wire is which. I'm assuming it's like that, but I don't know if it's like that or not. This is an aftermarket one, and I'm going to just figure out which one it actually is. And since the other rectifier plug that goes to the harness is damaged, I'm going to take this ghetto one that was on the CBR before I put the new stator on. It is a good plug, plugs in fine, and I'm just going to use 2 of the prongs. Which one goes to which? And so I don't really want to cut all this shrink wrap off, but I think that I do. I think that I need to. So, all right. So I was right. When the plug is like this, it comes straight in. So, like this. So I'm gonna put these all back together, put some shrink wrap around it. I might do ground on the bottom, so that has good continuity. Good continuity.
So all those are good connections, and so I can use any of those. And now I'm going to work on this bad boy. Twist them. I'm going to make sure, verify before I solder these together. This one goes to the outside. This one goes to the center and goes on the left outside. Slap that puppy on there. A little bit of shrink wrap over it. Kind of like to give them a little twist, so when the solder goes over them, it'll hold for sure. So I'm going to twist these together too. The top one is going to be the positive, the lower one is going to be the ground. All right. Got some electrical tape. So it's back to normal. Woohoo! Now I'm going to solder. Let's see, this bottom wire is ground. So gonna twist these together. And then I'm gonna electrical tape it back up. All right, so I got a plug back on there. So we're good to plug everything up. That, plugging the stator in, and the rectifier wire plugged in. Goes through that ground and that ground. It's not the OEM plug for the rectifier to wiring harness side, but it should be good. Now, there's a few wires that aren't hooked up, but it's mostly to the bar controls, the front end, like starter, or excuse me, the ignition. There's the one that goes onto the side of the motor down there, and then there's also this one for the mass airflow sensor, the MAP sensor. And so everything else is hooked up. And so once I get that MAP sensor and I find the wire to this one, I should theoretically be able to start it. So I thought I was missing the wiring harness to the oil pressure sensor that had the gray plug on it. I found it. Well, I actually have two, because I had 3 motors total. 2 on each bike, and then 1 that I bought separately for the other bike. And they both had them on it, and I just couldn't find it for some reason. I was looking downstairs, didn't look up here, so let's go throw this thing on. Okay, so we're back at the bike, and so I'm actually gonna put this piece on down here. Piece goes on down there, this plug, plugs into that sensor. This one is going to go down over here. Tugged all the way down here. That's going to go down there. Bolt on that pressure sensor into here. Boop. So we got that wiring harness now. The only thing we got to do is do this little air sensor. The only thing that's missing, this plug is the last thing that's unplugged. So I'm going to pull this all off, bolt it to the bottom of the air box, and then plug it in. Alright, so I got the sensor. Alright, so the sensor's on there. Now I gotta put that thing back together. Almost there. All this work for this one lousy click. So it should, in theory, run now after we bypass the tip sensor. So let's try it. Hook up the gas tank, wiring. All right, so now one last thing is hook up the ignition. I believe the relay was hooked up backwards. I think that was the problem. There we go. Okay, so yeah, the relay was hooked up backwards. Real dumb of me. I heard the fuel pump prime too, so that means we are a go. Now there's not much oil in this thing, so if it does crank up, I'm gonna turn it right back off because I have to replace the stator cover. I just want to see if it fires up. Okay. Well, that is disappointing. The motor is shot. It does not sound like there's any compression. So I'm pretty sure I have to, I don't know, rebuild another motor. Yay! So I decided just to try to start it again. And it actually started up. So let's do it again. Runs really rough. But it does run. I don't know how it's gonna run, like how it's gonna ride, because it runs so rough. I think the compression is low on it. It actually is burning oil, and it really struggles to run. So typically that's symptoms of a worn out motor. So first thing though, in the next video, I'm going to replace the oil and all the fluids, put the front rim on, get everything rideable, and then test ride it. See if it's actually rideable. It might not be, it might need a new top end just to be rideable. So we'll see. So I'll catch you on the flip.